Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, I guess. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm sorry that I suck at posting things because I've recorded tons of content and tons of videos and I just never like them enough to post them. So that's a problem. But I promise I'm gonna get better at it. I just gotta find the motivation to do that. I have a new camera. My phone keeps going off. But because it is September, I decided to, oh god, I'm popular today. Because it is September, I decided to post some stuff regarding it being September and, you know, suicide awareness, which needs to be brought to light a little more often and not shoved under the rug as much. And mental illness is real and it affects people of all ages, no matter what they've been through. It's kind of a stereotypical box still, which is kind of ridiculous because it's been around for so long. You would think that we'd be able to talk about it more easily and spread more light on it, but that is not the case. So I've tried to record this a few times and it just hasn't come out the way I wanted it to come out. So I think what I'm gonna do is actually read this poem that I wrote first and then discuss afterwards my thoughts on just mental illness as a whole. Again, my phone. I just got an iPhone. I'm a little behind the times. I don't know how to silence it. So I apologize. Yeah. So let me get right into the poem that I wrote. I'm gonna put on my glasses so I can see, because I am blind. I can't even see the camera without them, but I don't like the glare, so. Trying to find it. There you go. Right? Yeah. The emptiness I feel for you is honestly fulfilling. The sweet ignorance of silently deterring any confirmation of my lingering lost feelings. I learn to turn them off, don't get soft, shove them down until thickness of silence is the only sound that I hear. I smile ear to ear like I'm supposed to do, but the old habits are hard to break, so I stay true to the familiar silence I have grown through. Because without it, it may become too loud. Too loud to find your solid ground on silent sound that you were bound to keep around because you drowned and were not found, and then you vowed without a doubt to shut them down completely. No more noise is needed, a peace of mind for a time in my mind. It's not a crime to not feel fine and to cut that line from its plague. To understand negativity, its rules are vague. Disconnect, burn it, but don't collect the ash. Those are bridges burned, they stay in the past. It reminds you of the present as you now walk ahead. Be one with your emotions and listen to them. What you feel is valid, no needed explanation. You are the one building your own foundation out of growth, wisdom, and prosperity. Learn from the moments that flirt with anxiety. Understand how they form, where depression is fed. Look on to OCD, it sits at the head. Anxiety too, ADD next, all working together, all crammed in my chest, forming the tightness and panic that bubbles, drowning now silently into a puddle. Shaking and counting on fingers is next. Thick fog has blocked the way to my head. Numbers don't come, words I forget. How does this work? Breathing in sets continues for minutes, hours at best. Closing my eyes as a request. My vision is black, trying to rest. Please let this pass. Let me be rash. Gotta think fast. I'm drinking the gas, lighting the match, removing my mask, no longer attached, covered in ash, completing the task, unlocking the latch. Silence is followed, and freedom at last. So I wrote that to kind of get a better understanding and to express better on my mental illness, which is anxiety and depression and ADD and OCD. It's like a beautiful fruit basket of mental illness that I have that I'm still learning so much about. Anxiety and depression is just such a vague thing to explain or to be diagnosed with, but that was pretty early on in life, and I think a lot of people have their own forms of it and own baggage of it that they carry, not just anxiety and depression, but just mental illness in general. Anxiety for me has always been a thing. It's been pretty consistent in my life, but it has changed drastically over the last 10 years, I would say. My social anxiety was there, but as a kid you kind of put it off more so as social awkwardness, and as I got older, it's one of those things that it's changed a lot with me. Years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago even, anxiety for me looked like having trouble breathing, and just crying, just wanting to cry, like just having that like welled up like tightness in your chest that you just want to cry about anything and everything. And now I'm on Wellbutrin and I'm on Adderall for both ADD and depression. And it's odd because although I've gotten better with my anxiety and although I've gotten better with my depression, it's almost become more consistent in my life now. But I have a better understanding of it, so it's easier to carry even though it's bigger, if that makes sense. For me, my anxiety attacks are more structured now, if that makes sense, and that's very odd to say, but it's true. My anxiety attacks are very structured in the sense where if they start, I usually can know how far I can go, like I know my limit. If I don't stop it at this point, then I'm just gonna have to ride it out. It starts with, I have yet to really figure out what triggers it, to be honest. It can be anything, and I could be doing nothing. It could be just kind of spacing out, which also forms into my, what I'm having with, we're putting it under my ADD, but I'm not really sure if that's really what it is. It's when I'm having conversations with people and I might drift off. I will lose my train of thought and I won't know where it goes, and I'm unable to grasp what I was saying to bring it back to have the conversation again. Once my train of thought has left the track, it's gone and I'm not getting it back. And it's a very real thing, the phrase losing your train of thought. And I never really understood that until this started happening 5 years ago. It's been something that's been happening with me often, but it's more severe now, where I get so flustered about it because I don't want to have conversations with people in depth like that because I get scared that I'm going to lose my train of thought. Because if I lose my train of thought, then I feel like they think I'm not listening, or I'm not wanting to talk, or I don't have an interest in the conversation, and that's far from the case. It's just sometimes my words get jumbled, and it's almost like if you drop something in a pool and you reach over the side to grab it and the water is just slowly pushing it away from you and you're just so close to reaching it but you can't. That is what losing my train of thought is. It is right there, and in order to grab it, it's sometimes not possible because I'm reaching so far to grab it. And I see it in my head. I almost hear it being spoken to me in my head, what I'm trying to say, but it's not, there's no connection to my brain and my mouth. It is not connecting, and that is very difficult because I just know what I want to say, but it's on the tip of my tongue and it's not coming out. So that has been a thing that's been in my life for 5 years now, and it's just been more severe now. So sometimes that does lead to anxiety attacks, or that does trigger anxiety attacks for me. It's pretty rare that it'll happen with people, but it'll happen in my everyday life. Like say I'm doing things in my room, and if I forget what I'm doing, I'll kind of stand there and I will feel myself kind of not leave my body, but it's like this weird like feeling where I'm confused and I'm like then it hits me where I'm like, I'm about to have an anxiety attack and I don't want it. So what I do is I start fidgeting. It becomes a thing where I'm counting on my fingers in sign language from 1 to 10, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I will do that over and over and over. And if I'm not able to calm myself down by doing that, it escalates one further. I get very itchy and I get very twitchy. I will start to have spasms in my neck where I will go like this a lot. And that's really embarrassing because that is hard to control in public because it hurts. It makes my whole body tense and it hurts when I do not, if I don't release myself to do that. Like if I don't allow myself to have my little tics that I have when I'm about to have an anxiety attack, it makes it worse. It really does. And so to do them, I feel better. So counting this, the tics, what else? I then go into talking to myself, actually. I will go into talking to myself. And if I get to that point, usually there's no going back. Usually if I can't get past the feeling I'm getting of like itchiness and needing to move my body around, if I don't get past that, or if I do get past that almost actually, if I like just simmer it down just a few notches, if I'm not able to turn it down a few notches, then we have a problem because it's gonna escalate to the talking, to the unable to breathe, to possibly crying, and then usually I go for a drive. It doesn't matter what time it is, I go for a drive. That's been the only thing that usually helps me because I'm doing something, I think. And it's something that I can't pick and choose if I'm gonna do it because I'm driving. Like it's not a choice, I have to pay attention. And I know a lot of people might think that's bad or that's not safe, but to me it is. To me it calms me down and to me it works. Sitting at home does not work. That does not work. It makes it worse. So I rarely sit home. I apologize for my roommate's dog. But yeah, so that's been something that triggers with my anxiety. So as I said, it's become more structured. That is now my anxiety attacks. That was never that structured before. It was I can't breathe and crying. That's all it was. And now it's structured. So although it's worse in the sense of it's bigger, I'm able to control it better. I've gotten a lot better with able to calm myself down, to settle down, to make it work. Depression has definitely toned down a bit. It's not as bad as it was 5 years ago, 3 years ago even. 2017 was a bad year, 2015 was a bad year. So it's definitely simmered down, but it's still bad. I still can't have shades or curtains in my room because I get very introverted. I don't want to leave my bed. And so I need it bright, and that's what a lot of people I think have said stuff about my room because it is completely opposite of just me, kind of. It's very light and there's plants and it's airy, and I think it's because that's what I need to feel okay, if that makes sense, to just like help my mental health prosper. That's kind of what I need, and so that's why my room just kind of looks different than how I look, because even though my style is pretty out there, I'm still trying to find my style, but it's definitely different in general than what my room looks like. But it's because I need to surround myself with things like this. So the depression thing has definitely gotten better. The OCD and ADD has recently been a thing that's been introduced to my life that I've been diagnosed with, thanks to my girl Gina. I'm on Adderall and I'm on Wellbutrin for depression, but the OCD is something that's stood out to me recently because I'm learning things that I do. I'm understanding things better that I do, and I'm like, oh, that's an OCD. Like that's what that is. When I had my old car, I'd have to manually lock my door, and I would get out of my car and I'd hit the lock button on the inside. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. The car that I have is now manually locked for some reason. I can manually lock my car door, so I don't have this problem now. But with my old car, I did have an automatic, but I didn't have a keypad. So I had to manually unlock my car, but I could use the automatic button inside to lock it before I got out of my car. So what I would end up doing is getting out of my car, hitting the lock button, And I would stand there with the door open for several seconds, and I would be like, keys, 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 keys. I'd say it over and over, and I'd be holding my keys, but I'd have this undescribable fear that my keys were going to jump out of my hand and go into my car, and then I was going to shut the car door and lock them in my car, because I'd locked my keys in my car quite often, that it gotten into like it was like I needed to stand here with my keys in my hand and say keys a bunch of times before I shut the door. Even now, when I do manually lock my car door when I leave, I will pull on the handle several times to make sure it's locked. Then there was things that I was realizing I was doing with driving. If I live in Summers Point, so say that morning I was going to Ocean City for church, and then, you know, maybe I wanted to walk the boardwalk or something, and then my mom was going to be like, hey, let's go to Seaville and have dinner. Well, there was no, like, I would go from Ocean City, and I'd have church in the morning, and then I would do everything I needed to do in Ocean City, and then I would go to Seaville. And if someone said, hey, let's meet up in Ocean City, I'd be like, I already went to Ocean City today. Like, it took a lot in me to go back to a place I already was. Like, if I went home and then went to the mall, and then, you know, went somewhere else, and someone said, oh, I'm gonna be at the mall, do you want to meet up? And I'd be like, because it would irk my soul. So I literally would not be home for a good amount of time, because I'm like, if I'm gonna be out, I might as well just stay out. Like, there's no point in me going back home and then going back out. Like, it would drive me insane. That has gotten slightly better. I only realized this because I know somebody that lives in Pleasantville, and if I worked that day in Northfield, and I'd go to Northfield and I'd work, and they'd say, hey, do you want to come over after work, and I didn't have a change of clothes, I wouldn't mind driving home to Summers Point to get clothes and then driving back to Pleasantville. That has taken a lot of me to be okay with that. I used to carry a change of clothes in my car specifically for that reason, so it wouldn't trigger my OCD tendencies of like, I need to. So that has gotten a lot better in general. I'm trying to think if there's any other things that have stood out to me within the past few years that I've done, and I can't think of any at the moment. I believe that is all. There's nothing else that I do in terms of like the tics that I have for OCD, like the car thing and the locks. I don't do that here at my apartment. So I am on Adderall for the ADD, and I realized it has helped. It's hard to realize sometimes when you take medicine for the first time, it is hard to realize if it's helping until you maybe don't take it the time you're supposed to that day, or you miss a dose, and then you realize. For me, when I work, I get up, and as soon as I get to work, I take my medicine, because I have my coffee at that point, so I can take my medicine because I have a drink with it. But if I'm home, like let's say today, I didn't work today, so I got up and had a doctor's appointment around 11. Well, I didn't take my medicine until like 10 o'clock. So I was up for some time before I took my medicine. And if I got out of bed to do something, it would there's a lot of craziness that happens, because I find myself doing a lot of different things when I don't need to be. I'll like go to wipe something down on the counter, like say I washed the dishes and there's water on the counter, so I go to wipe off the counter. Well, there is no just wiping off the counter. I end up cleaning the whole counter, and then I realized that the side of the fridge is sticky, so then I'm cleaning the side of the fridge, and then in order to clean the one side, you got to open the door. Well, then you realize that there's stuff in there that's probably old and you could throw out. And then you got to clean the inside, so it like escalates, and I will then be, it goes from wiping a spot on the counter that's wet to cleaning the windows. It literally goes from that sometimes. And so I realized that I do have to take it when it says, which is as soon as you wake up. So the Adderall, the Wellbutrin. As in terms of medication with the depression and anxiety stuff, I did try Zoloft back in 2015, I want to say it was. However, I was at the time switching from a pill to Depo for birth control. I'm not sure, I'm still not sure what exactly triggered it, but it was not, I don't know if it was Depo or if it was Zoloft. but I did end up gaining a lot of weight due to that, and just mentally I was not feeling it. I do not think that medication helped me the way it should have, so I kind of stopped both cold turkey. Not great. So for me personally, Zoloft did not work. Wellbutrin has worked. I realized if I do not take Wellbutrin, since I've been on it for a few months now, if I miss a dose, I do get very irritable. I am ready to fight someone at all times. Every little thing drives me insane. And I'm not sure, I'm like, was I like that? Like before medication? Like, was I like that? Like, was I an asshole? But I'm not sure, but I just know that Wellbutrin does help significantly with that. As well as what's the word? In regards to growth has been a crazy thing for me this past year, mentally and personally and emotionally. It's been crazy, and I almost find guilt in saying that, because 2020 has been such a bad year for a lot of people in a lot of different ways, because of quarantine and because of the pandemic and because of everything that's been happening this year. However, that being said, I am on my own for the first time in 5 years. I do not have my eyes on anyone in terms of being in a long-term relationship. I'm not even thinking about being in a long-term set relationship. I am enjoying the time that I have to myself to figure out who I am, to figure out what I like. For quite some time, I did kind of consider myself more bisexual than straight. And then for even a bit there, I thought I was asexual, which means you have no desire to be with anyone, and you find it kind of, it's a gray area. I'm realizing that that's not really the case for me. I'm still trying to figure out who I am and what I like. That's all it is. And so that's been a great achievement for me this past year, as well as, you know, realizing that maybe I'm not so much bisexual, but maybe I'm pansexual, which is I basically like anybody that I can have a connection with, which is great. Because it's great to have human connections in general. It's great to have great relationships with people, and I think that's what I'm really focused on. Is I just want to have good relationships with people, not in the sense of being with somebody and marrying them and having a family, but in the sense of just I want to have a great human connection relationship, like, and I'm finding people that do that for me, and that makes me really happy, because I'm realizing what people I want to be around and what people I should be around to help me grow. So that's been great. So it's just been a lot of progress this past year, and that's been amazing. I moved out. I'm physically, I have a roommate, but I moved out of my parents' house, and I do live on my own. Now, I was paying all my bills. I was paying my car payment. I was paying my car insurance. I was paying my phone bill, food, gas. I really was paying for everything at that point. The only thing I wasn't paying for was to be on my own. So now that I am, I'm still not sure if it hit me yet, to be completely honest with you, because it's just been such a good experience overall, and it's been such a growing thing for me, because so much has happened, because I did move in to an apartment in the middle of quarantine. I moved in May, so it's kind of been hard to grasp that I am single, that I'm living in an apartment, and then I'm living my best life. So it's been crazy, and yeah, I'm trying to think what else. My camera stopped in the middle of recording. Small pause. I'll edit that somehow. Oh my god, I have not edited anything yet. Like, I don't know how to edit, but I'll figure it out. So basically what I was saying was, I've been on my own as a single person for the first time in 5 years, and I've also living on my own. Even though I've paid bills before, I've never actually been on my own. So now I can, it's like a weight has been lifted off in a sense, because I don't have to tell somebody where I'm going at all times in terms of relationship or in terms of parents. Like, if I'm feeling stressed, I can go for a drive at 2 a.m. or I can go get a Wawa sandwich. I don't know. I'm just like naming stuff. Like, it's just nice to be able to like have that freedom, you know? I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I should add. In terms of, I guess, depression, I want to touch base on that really quick. Back on it, actually, is that it's definitely gotten better, because there was a point in my life where I was really, really low. And I wasn't sure why. And I think it was just the pressure of the fact that all of a sudden I'd graduated. And, you know, I did get into a relationship that I shouldn't have been in. And I did just do a lot of things that wasn't good for my health, and I shouldn't have been doing. And I think it was just like this uncertain doom that was just like always on me, and I wasn't fond of it. And it became very stressful, and so I did start self-harming, because it was kind of like it was a relief to be able to do something that like took my mind off of everything else that was going on. And that was around the time when I did start seeing a therapist, and I was being put on Zoloft. And then around that time I also started getting into a better relationship, and that relationship was good for a really long time. And I think when you're with somebody, when you find a relationship that it becomes your longest relationship that you've ever been in, there's a lot of fear that comes along with that, because you suddenly don't know how to live without this person. That's what you feel like. You feel like you don't know how to live without somebody when you've been with them for so long, and you want to make it work so bad, and sometimes it's not going to work. And you have to realize that you can't put a circle peg into a square hole. It just doesn't work. And the sooner you accept it, the healthier the situation is going to be, because we weren't accepting it. That was the problem, is we were no longer accepting that scenario, and both of us were trying so hard to make it work. It just couldn't. There were things in our lives that were happening, and it wasn't working. And, you know, that went on, and that feeling of trying to make it work went on and on for 2.5 years or 3 years. Like, it was an unhealthy amount of time where, you know, we had ups, but we also had really bad downs. And, you know, when you start a relationship young like that, it's difficult, because it was, especially where my headspace was, I wanted to be committed to somebody. I wanted to have a future with somebody. I wanted to be a wife to somebody. I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to have a family. And that's a lot to think about at 19 years old. I was thinking about that stuff. And at 19, you don't know everything, whether you think you do or, you know, you don't. And, you know, I wasn't able to be, I felt like I had to be somebody that I wasn't. And that wasn't fair for either of us, because I was putting that in my head, that I had to fit a certain mold, and that's not fair on either of the sides. And I'm just realizing that I need to do what makes me happy. I need to be with people that make me happy, no matter what other people's opinions are. And I was so, after a certain point in my life, after I went through all that stuff previously, I was so concerned about what everyone else thought. And I was so worried about, like, living up to everybody else's expectations. Of like, well, I should be with this person because it would make everybody else happy. And I should find somebody that's like A, B, and C. Like, I was trying to find stuff. And, like, in reality, I just need to stop. Like, what makes me happy? And that's what I need to go with. And I need to be true to who I am. I can't question who I am because other people are questioning it. And that was also hard for me to admit to myself, that I just needed to be real with who I was. Because I wasn't being real at all with who I was. And so it's really been just odd for me to be able to sit here and say that I've grown a lot. You know, I still have my moments. I'm not gonna lie, of course I have my moments. I have my moments when anxiety is really bad, and I have my moments where I do just want to lay in bed, but I have to push myself, because I got a lot that I want to do. I got a lot of things that I want to do. And it helps that I'm finding people that I can be friends with and have connections with that make me want to be me. That make me realize I'm happy being me, because that's important as well. And I didn't have that. I kind of lost sight of that. I wasn't making any other connections because I was like, I have this person and this person is my only connection and I just need them. And that's not the case. You need other people in your life. You just can't have one person. It doesn't matter who says that. You can't just have one person in your life. And it's great if that makes you happy. If that truly, you can feel it in your gut that that makes you happy, fine. But you need to understand that it's nice to have other people of different, like, just different people in your life. You need different people. You know, you have certain people that match your one personality, cool, but you need other people to help you out. You know, it's difficult, but especially in the middle of quarantine, you know. And that was my concern, or not my concern, but my problem was, I was at the beginning of all this, I was like, oh my god, like I'm gonna be spending a lot of time by myself. But that's the best thing that could have happened for me, because then I was spending a lot of time thinking and a lot of time doing what I wanted to do. Like I was writing for the first time in a while. I was doing poetry. I wasn't posting, but I was recording. I was recording, and I'm thinking of ideas, and I was out making new friends, and I'm drinking and having a good time and just enjoying life and paying bills. Like I was paying bills, and it was nice to be able to do both, because for a while I didn't think that was possible. I guess I had it in my head that you pay bills until you die, and you like that's all it was. But like I'm understanding now that like I can go out and do stuff. Like it's okay to go out when I work the next day. Just don't put yourself too thin. But yeah, it's okay to go out and do stuff the next day. You don't have to like for so long I was like, no, I work the next day, I gotta be home by 5, like I gotta, like, nope, because I was so stressed. Like I was so like, nope, no, I can't do anything. But then like once the weekend came, like it was like I wanted to do all this stuff. Like I wanted to, and that became a problem too, because I felt like I didn't have enough time in the day to do anything. And now I'm kind of understanding that like it's okay to do stuff whenever you want. Just make sure that you give yourself time for you as well as other people. You know, don't constantly give yourself to other people. And trust me, I'm still learning about that as well. I'm still learning that I have to make sure I am happy. I can't just constantly give my happiness to other people to make them happy. Sure, I can care about them. I can care about them so much, and I can love them to death, but I am not in charge of fixing other people. I'm in charge of being there while they fix themselves, but I cannot fix other people. That is not my job. My job is my own happiness. And if you're not happy with you, then you're not going to be happy while you're with somebody else. You have to be happy with you alone before you can be happy with somebody else, because then at least you know who you are. You can't rely on people to make you happy. You really can't. You have to rely on yourself. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I missed. This has been so good. I'm like really proud of myself for making it through this video. Because you don't know how many times I've recorded this and had to stop, because for so long my videos, if you look back on my very old videos, they're very like sit down and just hit record, and I would do them. I would do them a few times, but it was very sit down, hit record. I wouldn't plan it out, because I liked being able to do that like on the spot, like raw, like just talking. And I've tried to do this several times, and it became very infuriating and frustrating and upsetting to know that I couldn't. In my head, that's what I was saying, I couldn't, because I would get halfway through a video and I would lose my train of thought, and once I lose my train of thought, I was gone. And so I think the way I did it just now, which was to read the poem and then talk, was a good idea, because then I was going back to the poem and like kind of thinking it through. I've definitely written other poems that I plan on recording. I have a whole book that I've been writing them in, and I'm really excited to post more and to share more with you guys. Covers, I don't know about covers. I'm not a great singer, but poetry I do enjoy doing a lot. And I've also found that I do like to talk a lot when I'm in the car. I've recorded tons of videos on my phone of just me like talking about whatever when I'm in the car. So maybe I'll do a new segment, because I did buy a car stand for my camera where I'll just turn it on and I'll just talk while I drive. I'll just talk to myself, to you guys, to the camera. I don't know. I did record a lot of stuff about my Maine trip that I took on this past summer. I drove to Maine by myself for the first time. I did drive last year, but I drove with somebody, and this time I drove by myself, and that was really crazy. So I would love to put that together and to share that with you guys as well. But I think that's it. That's really, I think, all I wanted to talk about. Just September in general, suicide awareness. Check on your happy friends, check on your sad friends, check on yourself. Give yourself a check. Are you good? Are you happy? Treat yourself. In the words of Tom and Donna from Parks and Rec. So I think that's gonna be it. I think that's all I wanted to tell you guys. So yeah, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to cry and drink coffee and just be by yourself, but it's also okay to push yourself to go be with your friends and be happy. So just do whatever makes you happy in general, basically, is all I'm trying to say. And I guess I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.